But I really don't have any regrets. I really don't. I've lived exactly how I've wanted to. I've tried my hardest every single time. I didn't win the matches that maybe I should have always won, but I really gave it my all. So that for me is enough.
Hello everybody, welcome to episode 94 of The Body Serve. I'm Jonathan.
And I'm James.
We are recording for the very first time in our new place.
The new studio, the kitchen table.
Which we haven't had for 6 years. We now have a kitchen table. We've got space for this luxury.
And man, life comes at you fast, doesn't it? We've been back from Ohio for 5 days? And lots of things have happened. I mean, Taylor Swift has released a new shitty single.
Oh, what is it called? Look What You Made Me Do, all you people.
Isn't that so typical? Blaming somebody else.
Look what you made me do. I had no part in this.
I'm so upset about the formation imagery because it's clearly stolen from Beyonce.
Well, let's wait until the video comes out to see if that's what it was.
Okay.
Because this is Taylor Swift. This could just be an intentional marketing ploy to get interest drummed up. And then when it comes out, it's like, you know.
Mm-hmm. She is very skilled at incorporating the big slams against her into her image. Like she's evolved a lot, or devolved, if you will. She's like the living embodiment of capitalism. Everything that tries to destroy it, she sucks into this vortex and becomes it.
You've wasted already too much time on Taylor Swift. That was not part of the agenda. I'm not having it.
Okay.
This episode is our US Open preview. And honestly, with this new setup, the acoustics are probably a little bit different than our previous recording studio.
You can decide if you like it. I think there's a little more reverb because we're not in a carpeted space.
Well, we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
I think it's certainly better than a moving vehicle.
Yes.
I think you all will agree.
We've struggled with the audio for the last couple episodes because we were going on the go.
I was just not super happy with the last one. So I apologize if it was tough to listen to. Believe me, I wasn't happy with the audio, but we're working on it.
Do you know what this Taskmaster did to me? One time in Cincinnati, we did the car episode, and we had other stuff that we're going to stitch into it. And he's like, oh yeah, let's get this done. I need to edit it because I need to go watch Dominic Thiem against Ferrer at 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
I was like, listen, I will do it. Just go. Like, I can't deal with he does this thing where he just pressures you with time.
Who's he?
You. Like, I need to do this by a certain time. This has been, let's get it. Like, for example, right now, you're like, Lol, let's get the episode recorded right now. It's like, well, let's go have something to eat. Let's go out, have a drink.
No. Let's get the work done.
Okay, so I did the work. And then you go to watch Dominic Thiem. He wins. He loses.
He lost.
Dominic loses.
Badly.
And I say, come back up to the press room from the grandstand and check this audio, see if it's okay. Right? And so he comes back up and he's like, I don't like it. So it's like, whatever. I'll go and I'll do it differently. Yeah. And then you go out and you watch some more tennis and you come back an hour later and I give you the 3 audios that are the options and you pick the original one.
You know what? The first one was better. I'm so sorry, but we need to give the listeners something that is audible.
But if you see what happened was, if you had just trusted my judgment.
Trust in me. Okay, listen, we're here for the US Open preview. This is the final major of the year. Andy Murray just pulled out today, this afternoon, so I'm actually glad that we waited to record.
Yes, there is that. But before that, you bring up Taylor Swift and you're going to talk about seeing Mariah Carey this week? Shame on you. Disgusting.
I was just so upset by Taylor. But Jonathan's birthday was last week. He turned 23.
A week from today.
Yeah, you weren't 23, but
I was 22 back then.
So we saw the Mariah Carey Lionel Richie concert, which I prefer to think was the Mariah Carey concert with the guy from the Commodores.
It was weird as hell, that whole lineup.
Well, it was.
And almost everybody was there.
Because they had an opener too.
Yeah, and everybody was there for Lionel pretty much. I think
Yes.
the ratio was like 70-30 in favor of Lionel. Because there were definitely
And
empty
I did
seats.
not expect
No,
that.
there were empty seats for Mariah, and then when Lionel is out, you look around and like the place is packed.
I mean, people were hype. People were turned up for Lionel Richie. Even the boring ass people around us were standing up occasionally.
And bless him, he used every last ounce of what's left of his vocal cords to put on a
You
show.
know, that's not fair. You told me the man is 71 years old, and he put on a show with like no breaks. Did you
Yes.
notice that?
Yeah, it was-
He played all the way through for, I don't know, maybe like an hour and a half,
Yeah.
right?
Okay. But his show is a vocalist show. You might not think much of his voice in its heyday as being a great singer, but his songs, Easy, Hello, Say You, Say Me, there are a lot of these
Yeah.
big, soaring
Endless Love.
ballads, yes. And so when they're thinly sung now, it's very noticeable. And I say that against the backdrop of how poorly women in the same position are treated.
Thank you.
That's my point.
Thank you.
Because
Because of how people talk about Mariah, even at her own shows.
Mhm. Like, I know about the trickery that Mariah pulls, and I know the stuff that's not sung live or what have you, but let me tell you, standing there and getting my life while she sings Vision of Love in her current voice was still one of the highlights of my life.
Yes. And because when people say, oh, she's going to lip sync the whole show, actually, you can tell basically note to note which is real and which is not.
Especially live,
It's
I
like
can tell.
it's way more
I
complicated
can
than
tell
that.
everything.
And guess
especially
what?
Live.
Lady Gaga says, I would never lip sync, blah, blah, blah. That's a damn lie because we've heard her lip sync before. But even the best pop singers these days sing with a track, or a lot of times they use like discarded studio vocals as their track so it doesn't sound like the album version.
And also, a lot of these artists are not singing as difficult a song as Mariah is
That's
trying
the
to
thing.
sing live.
She,
That's her own doing.
she didn't do herself any
No.
favors, right?
She wrote and sang these songs that are incredibly difficult to sing. That's why they're very rarely sung on these talent shows. Do you remember when Jessica Sanchez was tasked with singing My All
No.
on American Idol?
No.
It
Maybe
was-
there's a reason I don't
It
remember.
was not cute. It was perfectly fine, but like that's a mountain to climb. And so, you know, it is what it is. Her voice is what it is right now, and I still enjoy it.
And the thing is, Mariah doesn't have to be doing this. She's extremely rich. She's like richer than Nene Leakes. She could just retire if she wanted to. But I think she enjoys performing. She likes interacting with the fans. And, you know, if you don't like it, you don't have to go.
That's what all these people are out here telling her to do, to retire. Just
Right.
like they're doing with all these athletes.
And who?
All these people.
Miss 37-year-old Venus Ebony
Yeah,
Star
all
Williams.
these people who are supposedly past their prime, and even if they are, they should be out here in these streets doing whatever the hell they feel
Some
like doing.
people have earned the right. Anyway.
You stay in your basement.
Now, you mentioned that the U.S. Open was starting.
Yes.
Is that what we're supposed to be talking about?
Before this episode started, you're like, well, let's get the title out of the way because it's always a thing that's last that we get done, and the thing that maybe takes the longest to figure
I
out.
hate coming up with a title.
And I said to you, why don't we do Where My Boys At? Because where are these boys, these men's?
Where is everybody?
And for y'all, if you don't know, you always tell me that I don't want to give away what the reference is, otherwise it doesn't make sense. But I feel like this one's a little bit more obscure.
Okay.
It's Where My Girls At?
Yeah.
The R&B song from the 90s?
Yeah. That group, I always forget, is it 802 or 702?
I think it's 702.
Okay. They were supposed to be, it was either them or Destiny's Child that was going to break through. And I remember people were saying, who's it going to be? I'm like, really? They had the one song, okay?
And it really was just one child, Beyonce, in the
Well,
end.
hey, don't you disrespect Kelly like that.
No,
My
you-
sister will be so mad.
You know I love me some Kelly.
Yeah. So I think 5 of the top 11 guys are missing. There's Novak and Stan and Kay, who have all called off the rest of the year already from August. Then Raonic is out. Raonic, I mean, the guy has been struggling with injuries for basically his entire career. And I am starting just to feel a little bad for him.
This wrist thing really flared up in Montreal. And that would explain his terrible loss in his first match in Montreal.
Yeah.
He pulled out of Cincinnati, and now he's out of the U.S. Open. And then word comes today that Sir Andrew Murray is out of the U.S. Open as well.
So he delivered the word. He waited till today. He got to New York. He was training. Some journalists on Twitter were saying, Carol Bouchard actually said, "Am I detecting a limp on court?" As she tweeted that the other day, and I'm like, oh shit. Like, is that for real? So he's been dealing with this hip injury for months and months, and it's just not better.
He and Nick with a bad hip.
And it's one of those things that takes so long to heal, and it's so debilitating for a tennis player when you have to push off from your bottom half to serve and do anything, you know?
In this age of oft-injured players, every little niggle that you see becomes so alarming. There was this video circulating yesterday, I don't know if you saw it, from Rafa's practice, where he just
the
started...
knee tweak?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And people were like,
God.
oh my God, what's going on? So I don't know.
The thing is, I think most top-flight tennis players play through pain constantly.
Shit, I wake
Right?
up every morning and I'm like, what is that tweak right now?
Right.
And I'm limping down the stairs, and then 15 minutes later I'm fine.
Well, yeah.
I mean, I'm not an elite athlete, but when you hit 30, it's natural to have these little things happen to begin with that wouldn't have happened to you when you were 20, let alone if you're doing all this great physical exertion.
Right.
Well, this is annoying. The fridge just turned on, so I don't know if there's going to be a little bit of a buzzing sound. We'll try and take that out in post-production. I don't think it should be too bad.
No, you don't really notice all the noises in your house until you're trying to record audio.
And you have these headphones on.
So Andy was pretty upset delivering the news today. Apparently he was trying to hold back tears. Obviously this is a tournament that means a lot to him. He's won here before. He had such a great year last year, especially toward the end, getting to number one, winning all those tournaments. This entire year has to feel like such a bummer. Just a wash.
And now if this is going to be a long-term thing for the rest of the year, say, for example, he has to miss a couple months or even miss the rest of the season, where will he be in the rankings? Like, this must be a punch to the gut.
Imagine how many points are going to fall off in the fall. But a lot of guys are in the same position now. Stan and Novak have obviously taken the rest of the year off. Roger and Rafa are going to be the ones vulturing points because they didn't play at the end of last year.
They're going to be so far ahead.
Yeah. But at this point, I feel like Andy is probably more concerned about getting healthy and getting back into top form than retaining the number one ranking.
Yeah, because he can fight through being the 10 seed at tournaments.
Yeah.
It won't be that big of a deal. Like, those 5 to 10 seeds haven't done anything in the last 10 years anyway, so...
But we're in a position now where 3 of the 4 semifinalists from last year's Open are out, even before the tournament starts.
Novak, Stan, and...
Kay,
yes.
And then Andy was a quarterfinalist last year. This is kind of uncharted territory. It's bizarre.
For the last 15 years, for sure.
And so
you have all these Raf fans and Fed fans out in these Twitter streets cussing Andy.
People were so mad, really pressed that Andy didn't pull out sooner. And listen, I think I've just been in this kind of mood lately that I've been wanting to take the piss out of things and people.
This is new?
No, but...
This hasn't been the case your whole life that I've known you?
Right. A few of my tweets lately have drawn some ire. And today, I said something about Andy having absolutely no obligation to pull out earlier than he did. He didn't make the draw. Federer and Rafa were drawn in the same half. It's not his fault. He earned the points to be the number 2 seed.
He earned his right to be able to see, as long as he needed to, what it would take for him to be fit and ready to play.
The only criticism is if he waited until the first round or stumbled through his first round match and withdrew in the middle of it, or retired in the middle of it.
And even then.
Right. So the thing is, if you're mad about this, if you're mad about Federer not moving into the number 2 spot on the bottom half of the draw, I don't get it. I really don't. To me, this is just fandom taken too far, because I think there's a real lack of logic and understanding in that position. And I say that as a very serious fan of Rafa and the Williams sisters. I'm sure I've made many illogical statements on this podcast. But to me, I don't think that Andy had any obligation to do things differently.
What I'm really bummed out about, selfishly, is that he was set to take out, hopefully, one of the biggest unknown sexists in the world. Tennis Sandgren.
And I mean, sexist is putting it nicely.
Because
the guy is like to the right of Mussolini.
So no, we got to rely on Marin Cilic to win the battle against the sexist. On, what is it, Monday night or something? I don't even know when it was.
I don't know when they're playing.
Yeah.
Tennis Sandgren, who's made it into the main draw of a Grand Slam, whose Twitter is truly enlightening, if you're interested.
People are just now starting to find out about him, thanks to the tireless work of Bad Toss, who we met in Cincinnati, a delightful woman.
She is out here in these tennis Twitter streets exposing the American men. She's taken it as a second career. She's the one who's always screen capping John Isner's likes.
And she's doing the same for tennis as well now, because he now has this platform. And it's, if you thought John Isner was bad, Tennis Sandgren is just the worst.
No, man. Like, this is truly alarming views.
And don't take our word for it. Look at some of the work that Bad Toss has done. Check out her blog.
She's done some great writing on Mr. Sandgren, because she's actually met him several times in person going to the, I believe it's the Champagne Challenger. Yeah.
Because she's a professor in what is it?
Illinois,
yes.
Yeah.
Champaign-Urbana, right? And she went to that Champagne Challenger as a correspondent, reporter for The Changeover a few years ago.
Oh, yeah,
And she wrote this long-form piece recapping her week there, and it was just delightful. Such a tragedy that she's not writing tennis stuff more full-time, because it was so good.
She's busy, man.
Well, that's true. And she also wrote that piece about what it's like post-election to be a tennis fan and American and have to deal with all these American men at the start of the year. And that, too, is worth your time. So those two pieces, big ups to Bad Toss.
Now, on the women's side, we have a few high-profile women who are not there, but it's not wholly unexpected. Serena is almost giving birth.
She's busy on Instagram, on Snapchat, drawing diagrams of where the baby is on her belly.
And then Victoria Azarenka is in a whole heap of a mess. We don't know what is going on, so there's going to be no comment on that whatsoever.
Nope.
But she's in a custody battle, basically, and unfortunately has had to pull out of the U.S. Open.
And who is there is Miss Maria Sharapova, and she is drawn to play Simona Halep in the first round in just a clusterfuck of a first-round match.
Yeah.
For both women.
So Chris Fowler, I was watching the draw ceremony at work yesterday.
You did a great job live tweeting that, by the way. I was just getting up. You were like 6 hours into your day.
I know. So Chris Fowler looked at it and was like, holy shit. And then before it came up on the screen, he's like, okay, people are going to be talking about this. And I couldn't have even predicted that that's what he meant.
Listen.
What do you think? We talked about this in our Body Surf diary. Check it out, by the way.
And we will be doing a diary for this match, because we'll both be off on Monday night to watch this match.
Yeah.
And for the people tonight who have Conor McGregor, Floyd Mayweather, or whatever the fuck his name is, that's their big title match. This will be our title match on Monday night.
Right. I think this is a winnable match for Simona Halep. She's the one who's in form. She's playing well this summer, except in finals. She's a number 2 player. She's having one of the best years of her career. She should beat Sharapova. However, there's a lot of intangibles when it comes to Sharapova.
She's never beaten Sharapova.
She's never beaten her. Maria has not played in a major since January of 2016. She has a lot that she wants to prove. She's coming in pissed, and that sort of Maria is dangerous.
The longer she stays in this tournament, the longer she's able to plug her book, which will be released after the US Open, and a book that we have on good authority that will contain an entire chapter about Serena Williams. So you expect those fireworks. And I'm told there are no holds barred. So I am looking forward. I might actually buy that book. Not even lying.
What?
Because I'm tired of all these sports.
Pirate it. I'm not giving her my money.
I'm gonna read it somehow. Like, I don't care. It is our fiduciary duty.
Fiduciary?
As tennis lawyers.
Oh, no.
To be aware of what's being said in these streets. Don't you think?
No.
We gotta know. You're just gonna not know what's being said? You're gonna read snippets?
Exactly. I will make my opinion based on half-truths and misrepresentations. Listen, I fully expect Serena Williams to give birth on Monday to overshadow Sharapova's first-round match.
She will be a few weeks late, and she will give birth during the rollout of that book release. That's what will happen.
Okay. So, Sharapova, Shapovalov, Halep, which the U.S. Open tweeted.
What a mess. This U.S. Open account that has been an absolute turd all year.
This account just wants to talk.
Right.
And then when I talk shit to it, it doesn't want to respond.
I made this comparison today, and it didn't get a whole lot of love on Twitter. I thought it was pretty apt. That when you're out here going for broke all the time, you're going to make a whole lot of unforced errors. And I'm wondering if it's Dominic Thiem who is running this account.
Oh, my God.
Because...
That's so rude.
This account is playing reckless as fuck. And of course, now you have this heinous mistake.
Yes,
as
but
my cousin Vinny
hilarious.
would say. Because WTA Insider tweeted from that account saying something about the match. And then they chime in replying, yes, Halep versus Shapovalov is going to be amazing or something like that. I'm like, say what now?
It sure would be interesting. Another thing I wanted to talk about, we've been hearing a lot about wide open women's tournaments, especially on the women's side, but now the same is true for the men's. And you've kind of backpedaled away from that because it's a common refrain this year.
Yeah.
And we were discussing something like, yes, these majors have been fairly wide open compared to recent years, especially because Serena's out, but the winners have not been that shocking this year.
No,
they haven't. We have Federer and Nadal, veterans. We have Ostapenko is the only shocker.
We had Rybarikova in the semis of Wimbledon, which was a surprise. But you have these semifinalists every now and then.
But it happens.
And there's this amazing stat on the WTA side that going back something like I wish I had the exact stat now. Something like 17 straight slams, we've had a first-time semifinalist on the WTA. So like these surprise performances is not new. If you're thinking, well, would we still be saying this if Serena were playing?
No. Definitely not.
If like Azarenka weren't there, if Sharapova weren't there, if all these other players weren't there here and there throughout the year, right? But Serena was there. And even if Serena wasn't winning, Serena was there, but she was losing in the quarters every tournament, right? It's the same premise. But I feel like her absence cut such a huge shadow on the rest of the women's tour that people just run with this narrative and cast it in a negative light. Whereas I found that the results and the tennis on the women's side the last few months in particular have been very consistent. We had 6 of the top 8 seeds in Cincinnati making the quarterfinals. And the quality of the play has been pretty damn good, save for the last couple of rounds in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
But that happens.
And the final in Toronto.
But the quality of play on the women's tour, sorry Australian listeners who might be inclined to go rip us apart in reviews right now, because yet again I'm defending the women's tour and women's oppression.
Hi Australia.
I just think it's overstated to a very large degree.
I agree. Like you said, we've had consistent performers this year. And that actually brings up something else that I wanted to talk about. One of the big stories for me is, can the big performers at non-slam events kind of redeem their year at the U.S. Open? The big example for me is Alina Svitolina, who has been fearsome at Premier Fives, at the non-slam WTA events.
She's won five.
Yeah,
five titles, 3 of them premier events.
Mm-hmm.
I do take issue with your use of redeem her year because she's had a pretty damn good year.
Yeah,
and also,
redeem is not quite the
do
word.
not forget she's only 22 years old.
Yes.
And the fact that she's only made 2 quarterfinals, back-to-back French Open quarterfinals, I think last year and this year, does not mean that she's been a dud at slams. It's a natural progression of things for young players. Like, she's had a very good career so far.
Yes,
and
definitely.
You picked her as the breakout candidate for this year, and she's done that. And maybe this will be her big breakthrough moment.
That's a better way to put it. Because I think that she's had an amazing year.
She has.
And I know that she will put it together at a slam in a big way. But that takes time and maturity. And I mean, I think I was a little burned because I picked her to win Roland Garros.
That's on
and then
you,
it was
boo.
exactly, because then I was like, you know what? That's so stupid. You don't pick someone to win until they win. That's like the golden rule of tennis predictions, right? She made the 3rd round in Australia, 4th round at Wimbledon. She probably should have won that quarterfinal in the French. But, I mean, she's taking out everybody. At Rome, in Toronto, Dubai, Istanbul, and Taiwan. Those are her 5 titles. I mean, there's no reason as the 4 seed that she can't make it happen here.
No, none whatsoever.
So, in a similar sense, I want to see someone like Joe Wilfried Tsonga or Sasha Zverev. Both have had success in ATP events. Sasha Zverev, obviously, in much bigger tournaments. And he hasn't had a bad Grand Slam run this year, but we are waiting to see him make a huge splash in a major.
It's coming. It has to
Oh,
come.
it is.
And he, more than any of the young players, seems ready and is talking that talk and has been backing it up. Whether he'll build off of these 2 Masters wins with another dud like he did at the French Open, that's another matter.
Right.
Because that's entirely possible as well. But this dude, you just feel like something, more than anybody else, something big is coming.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it has to do with personality. He wants to be out there. He's ready. Like we said before, he wants to play on big stages.
What were your impressions of him in press in Cincinnati?
You know, it's so funny that you ask. Because I got so much shit and continue to get shit because I poke a little fun at him on Twitter.
You
I
called
say
him
he's cocky.
a diva.
He's a diva.
A divo.
No.
That's a reference to Whitney.
Oh, right.
She was like being asked about divas, and it may have been Oprah was like, well, is so-and-so a diva? And Oprah was like, well, Elton John. And she's like, no, that's a divo.
Elton John is a rude bitch, is what he is. The biggest diva of them all. But Sasha is, he's arrogant. He's a kid. He's good. People have been telling him he's good for a long time. And now he's winning. And so my impressions of him in press were, to put it diplomatically, not positive. And you know what? They're not there to make me like them. That's not their job. I don't have to like them. They don't know who I am. Like, what, we don't matter to them. And
I think part of your reaction was you expect players who've been around the circuit for a long time to be jaded to an extent and to have those kind of, acerbic interactions in press.
Right.
Whereas he's, 2021? What is your excuse for this, just kind of rudish answers?
Yeah. And I think the thing that bothers me is that I found Nick Kyrgios to be courteous and respectful of the journalists who were asking him questions, even if they were stupid questions. I mean, he got a little snippy, mildly snippy at a few. But I found Sasha, I don't like the condescending attitude, and that I'm just going to leave it there.
I'm going to take it a little bit further.
Okay.
Because this is the perfect example of something we've touched upon quite a bit on this podcast. These are the very small yet very significant ways in which the discourse surrounding 2 young up-and-coming players differs, and the way in which people are wont to view and discuss them in different ways. Right? And that has to do with the gentility that's afforded whiteness as opposed to the abrasiveness that's assumed of presumed blackness,
Okay.
right?
And to be fair, of course, their Nick's on-court antics have been interesting, so to speak. And he's misstepped in big, big ways, right?
Yeah, but people take him to be a complete, unadulterated asshole. Whereas we would look at some of the stuff that we've seen from Zverev and think, wow, what a dick. Whereas people are like, oh my God, he's so confident.
Yeah, what I just
Like-
I just don't like the sanctimonious stuff. Saying like, oh my God, how can you say that? I don't get it. I mean, I like the kid. I'm not bothered by his personality at all. Like, I want to make that clear. But like,
You're pushing back a little bit against the fawning.
yeah, I mean, what, like, when you poke fun at somebody, what is the big deal about that? Like, we're just taking the piss here. My point is, this kid is going to be huge. We all know that.
Is that your point?
Yeah, that's it.
I feel like there was much more said before that.
Okay, well, it's been said. The other thing about these good performers at non-slams, Daddy Tsonga, you discounted me putting him in the dark horse category, or a possible, basically a player who can take advantage of a soft section of the draw.
In our TBS diary.
Yes. And then you were like, oh shit, he actually has won 3 titles this year. It feels like a lifetime ago.
Because in terms of the year, it has been a lifetime ago.
Right. He reached the quarters last year at the US Open and at the Australian Open. He just had a terrible Roland Garros, like embarrassing first round loss.
Listen.
But listen,
You
he's
pick,
a guy
You pick
who,
somebody to win when they've already won.
I'm not saying he's going to win. I'm saying he has a soft section of the draw. And now even softer because what? Cilic is in there, right? Yeah, Andy's not even there anymore. So Cilic would be his quarterfinal opponent if he makes it there.
And I said to you in that bit of back and forth writing that we did, you are a glutton for punishment.
True.
Because literally, and the receipts are here on this podcast, every goddamn Grand Slam that comes around, you're like, you know what? Joe Willie could do it. He could have to beat Thiem in the 3rd round, Raonic in the 4th round, Nadal, then Federer, and then Djokovic. But I see a way. There is a way forward.
I'm just saying. Pablo Carreño Busta is his round of 16.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? I mean, I guess you can lead a horse to water, etc., etc. I'll never learn.
I thought you were comparing Joe to a horse. I'm like, no, don't do that.
No. Stupid.
Where do we go from here?
Grigor Dimitrov. Is he going to take advantage of this weak-ass draw? Is he going to step up?
Weak ass.
Well, he is in the tough part of the draw.
Exactly. And also, if he gets to the quarterfinals, and if Rafa gets to the quarterfinals, it'll be a much different Rafa, I believe, than the one who lost to Kyrgios in Cincinnati.
Well, I should hope so.
So, I don't know. I mean, you don't do it until you do it.
Right.
Again. And Grigor is the epitome of the player who fool me once. Was it fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me?
Yes.
And it's been like 15 times by now. We are very happy for him that he won Cincinnati, but I'm not about to be out here predicting things for him in a Grand Slam.
It's more just an open question. And the same question is the same thing for Kyrgios. He's had one of his biggest results in Cincinnati. He seems to be putting himself together mentally and emotionally. He's in a better place than he has been in a while. He could meet Federer in the round of 16. And, you know, he loves playing these big guys on big stages.
He does. And he seems primed for something like that to happen. However, the big X factor that a lot of people forget with these slams is that it's best of 5. And Kyrgios has that ongoing hip issue.
Yeah.
And I just don't see him winning 7 best of 5 matches unless I know for sure he is absolutely fit.
Oh, yeah. I mean, 7 is a stretch. I'm just saying, can he make a splash?
What are we talking about here? Of course he can make a splash. Like, what is a splash?
A splash would be taking out Federer in the round of 16.
Okay. Yes.
And really, you don't have to go further than that to make a big splash.
Okay.
Right?
Sure.
I think Federer is probably the number 1 favorite here.
Yes. And he says that he's been playing sets the last few days, live sets, and he's feeling good about himself.
Yeah. So I think we should take him at his word. and he's probably the one to beat.
What do you have here next on this agenda? Is Muguruza ready to put it together in the U.S.? Well, I think you said in U.S. She has put it together in the U.S. She won her first ever tournament on U.S. soil in Cincinnati. I presume you mean at the U.S. Open.
Yes.
This is poor grammar right here.
What?
Very misleading.
They're notes.
You have here that she has a terrible record here, 2-4. Last year she lost to Sevastova, but in caps, she's just won her first title in the U.S.
I'm making no predictions about Muguruza because I've gotten us into trouble before. Everybody's pretty upset with me. The Venus Army. What's the Venus fans called?
The V-Leavers.
The V-Leavers. Okay. I apologize again. So there will be no predictions. Muguruza clearly has the game to do it here.
Yeah.
Whether she will is yet to be seen. And I have to admit, I was shocked when I saw her record here, 2-4.
We can only go by what we saw in Cincinnati, and we can tell you that what we saw live in Cincinnati was really impressive. It was not just that she won from saving match points down. She won from playing different styles of tennis, not from blazing guns from the jump, but from being consistent and relentless from the baseline, hugging the baseline, holding the baseline, refusing to have the ball hit past her. Her retrieving was impressive in Cincinnati. Look, I would not be shocked if she won, and I would not be shocked if she lost in the first couple rounds.
True.
But also, in that quarter, people talk about that being the toughest quarter, and it may very well be so. There's Venus, there's Caroline, there's Muguruza.
And Petra.
Yes. However, everybody there has asterisks. You want to say, well, Venus is old. Well, Venus is the only woman to have made the second week of the last 6 Grand Slams. The only one. And it's not even close. And the only other person who would have even come close to doing that is Serena, and she's been on maternity leave for a while.
Right.
She probably would have matched Venus in that regard. And then, say Venus gets to play Caroline, I think, in the 4th round. She's 7-0 against Caroline. So you think, well, Caroline has made 6 finals this year, and that would be a tough out for Venus. However, the track record is there. That's something to look at. Their matchup just favors Venus for whatever reason.
And that's surprising to me because a player like Caroline, I think, could give Venus fits, right? Venus likes pace. And the retrieving can be annoying for her. But it hasn't happened in the past.
And then Muguruza, like you said, she's 2-4 at the U.S. Open. So, I mean, that is the type of quarter that is the perfect scenario for what we think to be a tough draw to completely implode. And we have a situation where Venus ends up in the semifinals or the final, and people are talking about again, well, goddamn, what a soft draw. Who did she play?
Right.
She didn't play anybody ranked above 20 in the world.
Yeah. Listen, it keeps happening. She made 2 Grand Slam finals, and it didn't happen by accident. It's not like her opponents withdrew.
No, and we're at the point, and we've said this before, and people are now starting to write it, stop treating her like a ceremonial figure. Venus is a contender. She's shown you she's a contender. We need to expect her to get to these later stages of these slams.
Now, I don't want to frame the question like who's going to break through. I want to ask, who do you want to break through?
I would like... You have a few people listed here.
These are mine. We probably agree on most of them.
Yeah, I would like Ash Barty to break through. I would like Madison Keys to break through.
Me too. And it's doable with this draw. It's not the easiest, but it's not impossible. Madison is the 15 seed. She has Vesnina as a round 3. Vesnina has done basically nothing
since Indian Wells.
She's done a whole lot in doubles, but nothing in singles since Indian Wells. Svitolina, that's tough as her round of 16. Someone who's in great form. But the quarterfinal is another toss-up. That would be, the seed would be Kerber, or it could be Ostapenko, the 12 seed. And, I mean, who knows what to expect with either of them? Ostapenko followed up her Roland Garros win with a quarterfinal showing at Wimbledon, which is great.
And Venus took her out with a plum.
Sent her packing. I mean, the woman is so talented, but sometimes she can't get out of her own way. The ball toss goes crazy. I think she'll perform well here, but as a quarterfinalist, I think Madison could handle it.
That's a lot of what ifs. You're getting way ahead of yourself.
I saw Madison hit about 150 backhands into the net against Muguruza, so I don't know.
This is kind of a bullshit disclaimer 40 minutes into this episode, but we said between ourselves that we were not going to be doing a draw deep dive on this episode. So
who do we want to break through? Madison. I'm not ashamed to pull for Madison. I like her. I think the American women are representing really well.
Listen, you are just pulling for all the black people.
Basically.
Because you've got Sloane Stephens, you've got Madison Keys, then you have Chris Eubanks, Darian King, who is from Barbados, and you have Francis Tiafoe, who is playing Roger Federer in the first round.
Yes.
Like, why do you have those three lumped together? They're literally on the same sentence. So what were you thinking in grouping them together?
Well, there are two qualifiers and one wild card.
Mm-hmm.
They all got drawn against higher ranked players. 2 of them are American. 3 of them are black. That's a coincidence.
Okay.
The thing is, it just
stood out to me.
It is not safe in these dark times to root for white Americans until you know if they are woke or not, or on the path to becoming woke, because woke is not a state of being, it's constant progress.
Yeah,
it's work.
As we joked with Courtney Nguyen in Cincinnati, like, you really should have to go and renew your woke license every few years.
Exactly. So I'm not going to profile like I'm a woke white person, because that's grandstanding. I try. That's it.
Okay.
That's,
I was being a little bit of a dick there.
I know.
I'm
just saying, with these American guys, and it goes all the way down to the 18-year-olds, you cannot be safe.
No. But I like your style there. Sloane Stephens, back-to-back semis in Toronto and Cincinnati? Sure, fine. Right. Like, is she going to then transform herself in press? Because I thought, and we had put in, we can say this now, we had put in for a 1-on-1 with Sloane, and she had agreed to do it very earlier on in the week in Cincinnati, and we're like, well, damn. You got the word from the WTA official, and they were like, yep, Sloane says yes, she'll do it tomorrow.
Right.
She had just won her match that day. She was like, no, but I'll do it tomorrow. And then the next day, it's like, well, maybe tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow. And then it's like, well, if you want some audio, you can just go down to our main press conference and record that. And we're like, girl, bye. Well, that didn't come from her, but that came from the WTA people, right?
I mean, they were doing their best. It was like, this is all we can give you. Sorry.
And then you go into that press conference, and then if you read the transcript afterward, you're like, I wanted to ask her, has the experience of being on Tennis Channel, something that you've been widely lauded for, being on that other side of the press line, changed your dynamic with the press in general? Because that's been kind of her reputation for a while. Somebody who is young and not very generous in the way she interacts with the media sometimes. And that doesn't seem to have changed one bit.
Interesting.
I guess I've gone way out there, more so than I thought I would have.
And I have her on who do we want to break through. Imagine what we say about people we don't want. Sloane, like you said, 2 semifinals in the big tournaments this summer. I think the game is more exciting when she's in it, period. The other one, we're biased, right? Because we had Ash Barty on the podcast. She's having a career, a breakout year in singles.
Listen, I was a fan of Ash Barty from before. So
yes, I know.
Meeting her, interviewing her, and her being so lovely was just a bonus. A huge bonus. Because I'm a cricket fan. I love that she plays cricket.
Yeah.
Like, there's so much about her and her game that I enjoy.
And like you asked her in our interview, it was incredible to watch her take control of that doubles match with her serve.
Yeah.
She was ready to serve it out, and there was literally nothing anyone could do on the court. Oh, the 3 other players were like, okay, we'll wait.
You have Del Potro here? Did you say that already?
No, I didn't say Del Potro. Again, I mean, Juan Martín hasn't had an amazing year, but he was the bronze medalist at the Olympics last year. And, I mean, the guy has won here. He deserves a few breaks to go his way. It's hard not to like him.
Can we talk about Angelique Kerber for a little bit?
Okay.
Because this is her last chance for romance. In 2017, she failed to defend in Australia. She's had a horrible year for all intents and purposes. She's 25-17. She's seeded 6th at the US Open.
Yes.
So I mean, she's defended most of her points. If she gets to the semifinals here, it would not have been a totally lost year. She can then essentially start from scratch, still being a top 10 player. I think this is a big opportunity for her. And I think she senses it, because the way I saw her react to that Makarova loss in Cincinnati wasn't just as one would think maybe a reaction to the theatrics of it all in that third set. But this was something that really bothered her, that she lost. And I don't know if I told this story before in a previous Cincinnati episode, but I was just meandering from the grandstand after that match, walking back to the press room, and then some folks just came up behind me and like ushered me to the side and pushed me to the side and was like, excuse me. And there she came, storming back to the players' lounge, because she was not happy after that loss.
No.
And I don't know. I don't know what to expect. I hope the best for her, quite frankly. And she starts out with a tough match against Naomi Osaka.
It is a tough match. Naomi is out here trying her best, and I think her really quick progress from last year has slowed down a bit, because it gets so much harder when you're ranked higher. It's harder to make big jumps in the rankings. I think Angelique was showing some signs of life in Cincinnati. I think that performance against Makarova has to be encouraging. However, she's not going to win by being a backboard.
No.
She has to, because she can create offense, she has to do it more consistently.
And if you think her serve is weak on TV, it's even weaker in person.
Oh, really?
It's weaker in person. I saw a stat today doing some research, because I'm going to be putting out my This Week in Tennis ATP and WTA previews for the US Open. And Kerber only has 50-something aces on the year.
Okay.
Think about that.
Well, I mean, some people don't ever hit aces, or rarely.
Well,
I guess that's like one a match.
And
right?
the second serve is the weak part of her game. So
yeah.
If the first serve is not firing like that, my God.
Right. The other people I want to see break through, Chris Eubanks, who is going into his senior year at Georgia Tech, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, the one in Atlanta. I think that's it. Anyway, he's in college still. He's one of the best college players, and he has been for several years. He got a wild card to the U.S. Open. He plays Dudi Sela from Israel in the first round. And listen, the dude is 6'7". Sela is one of the shorter guys on tour.
So do you think that Dudi Sela is not as great a Jewish tennis player as Diego Schwartzman?
Listen, I was helping you write your U.S. Open previews, because now it's kind of the Body Surf staff,
Yeah.
And I read this article recently about Diego Schwartzman as the best Jewish tennis player in the world, which he is, going by the rankings. And I think probably a lot of people don't realize that he is Jewish, from a Jewish family in Argentina.
Yeah. And he is as cute as a button as you might assume from TV.
He really is. Yeah, he's adorable. Chris Eubanks, Darian King, who qualified, who's from Barbados, drew Sasha Zverev in the first round. That's pretty rough.
That sucks.
Yeah. And then Frances Tiafoe Frances Tiafoe, American hope for a long time, signed to Jay-Z's sports agency, draws Roger Federer in the first round after taking out Alex Zverev in Cincinnati. So he's...
If Federer is not fully fit, that could be a tricky one for him.
It could, because I think Federer will still have the majority of the crowd support, even though he's in the U.S. But if Francis starts to make things happen, I think the crowd could be a factor. And he's got a lot of confidence, and he wants to be out there, and he wants to win. Like, he's finally been able to turn that around this summer. And I don't know. I'm excited to see it.
Things we like and dislike.
Things that I dislike. Well,
They're both dislikes.
I guess-
no, there are a couple likes.
I guess more so I find amusing. I was watching the draw ceremony, and man, the US Open just loves to talk about what they're good at. I'm like, okay, it's 12 o'clock. I'm on my lunch break. I need you to finish this up in an hour so I can go back to work and people don't see me streaming video when I'm supposed to be working. Because they're just going on and on about all these amazing innovations at the US Open and the new shot clock and the mid-match coaching and all this. And then Katrina Adams talked for a while and she's like, okay, guys, can you just please do the draw?
And come to find out, the draw had already been done.
Right.
It had been done off-site and then transported on-site. And they were just doing what they do,
And
keeping you hostage.
And then they show you the draw on the Periscope for like 2.3 seconds. And then they just show you Mary Jo Fernandez, Chris McKendry, and Chris Fowler just talking. I'm like, can you put the draw up and have the voices going at the same time? And then the Periscope comments were blocking half the draw. I mean, it was so upsetting.
Why is Periscope so big?
I don't know.
don't understand
Just stream it on YouTube. I couldn't figure out how to turn the comments off.
I don't
And it wouldn't let me log in. So I don't. It was very annoying.
We just figured out Instagram videos and Instagram stories, so all this other new media, it's a bit much for us.
Yeah. So the U.S. Open typically goes on and on. They brag about their prize money and all these things. It's annoying. The thing that I'm interested to see is there over-the-top flag-waving patriotism going to be hard to take this year, or harder to take than usual? Because I know that myself and probably a lot of people are not feeling particularly patriotic at the moment.
That's for you to decide
Yeah.
and discuss. I'm going to stay out of that one.
What was odd to me is that in Cincinnati, you know, every night they start the proceedings with the national anthem, the Star Spangled Banner. But
happened-
when there are two players who are not from the U.S., what is the point?
They did it in
Do they
Charleston as
yeah,
well.
but do
This
they
is what
do
happens.
that at Wimbledon? Do they sing God Save the
No,
Queen or whatever?
this is an American thing.
Right.
American
They don't sing
sports.
La Marseillaise at the French Open.
No,
No.
this is an American tradition.
Yeah.
In Charleston, we were told to stand and face the giant flag on center court
Okay.
while they played the national anthem. I was like, okay, I'm going to stand here.
Right. You're in the South. You have a Canadian passport. You're going to do what they say.
That's it.
What about the thing that we like?
I think we agree on these two as well.
Yeah.
There was
Nike shoot with those three Canadian players and then
Fanny Stoller.
Fanny Stoller. Yeah. But we got that shoot with Francoise, Felix Auger-Aliassime, and Denis Shapovalov in their new, fresh kits. The girls wearing tights. Like, the shoes are so hot. Like, I love the shoes.
They look good.
They did.
And
I am
they-
ready to stan Francoise and Felix right now.
What about Dennis?
He's okay.
You were all about that Brie for the tennis on Twitter.
Oh, yes, yes.
Her Black People Saving U.S. Tennis
And now,
hashtag.
now Canadian
Yeah,
tennis.
Black People Saving North American Tennis. That's what you're about right now.
I think the point is I'm just not here for Jeannie and Milos as the figureheads
You're here
of
for Vasek.
Canadian tennis. I am here
You
for
love me
Vasek.
some Vasek.
And Vasek is in the main draw here and faces Verdasco in the first round. So that's an eye-opener for me.
You thought. The other thing I love is the Adidas kits. We've been getting teasers about them for quite a while now. And the colors, the color blocking, the jackets, everything about it is so retro and chic and gorgeous. I'm a big fan.
Oh my God, I love when tennis embraces its history.
Mm-hmm.
Aesthetically, with the headbands. I mean, the Bjorn Borg headband, I'm here for.
Was there
Love
a
it.
tennis in the jungle? Like a rumble in the jungle in boxing that inspired the zebra prints before?
They've come a long
They've
way.
moved past it. And Nike, as always, is very run-of-the-mill, taking no chances
I mean,
in their designs.
Nike had some classic red and blue kits separates for the men and women
Yeah.
this year, which I liked. But they're pretty basic.
There's nothing risk-taking about the
Yes,
Nike stuff.
agreed.
Adidas, at the very least, has, in the recent past, and again this time around, taken some big chances with their kits. And this one is a home run.
Yeah.
I would actually buy that jacket
Really?
that I saw. It's gorgeous.
I would just wear the headband like walking down the street.
Is there anything else you want to talk about?
I don't think. Well, you wanted
Are
to
we
talk
making
about
any-
Rafa at number 1.
Oh. Yeah, Rafa is number 1. I feel like I'm exhausted at this point in this podcast.
Okay, quickly. Rafa's back at number 1 for the first time since July 2014.
Mhm.
He interrupted Novak's 5 years of utter dominance
It's
with
a huge
quite
deal.
a stretch at number 1.
It's a pretty big deal.
It is a pretty big deal. And it has coincided with Andy and Novak sort of falling off this year. But Roger and Rafa have both played incredibly well. Rafa had that super hot streak in the clay that we just sort of take for granted at this point. But he's back. And I don't think... Here's my disclaimer. His play this summer has not been very exciting.
No.
But I don't necessarily think that's a harbinger of what's to come at the US Open. I don't think it has to be. Let me say
I'm
that.
more skeptical.
Yeah,
I just don't like what I've seen.
right.
And we'll see what the net result of that is in the next couple of weeks. I'm not willing to prognosticate, to try and deep dive into try and figure it out. I just hope he's healthy. I hope he's able to turn up and show out at the US Open. Because I do not want his resurgent year in 2017 to be asterisked by all these folks trying to say, well, yeah, but clay.
Right.
Right? Because there was the Australian Open, and now we're in hard courts again. I'm not about this aberration life.
Okay.
But it's a pretty big deal. It is.
It is, yeah.
Well,
And
this should have been... This is your fault, because I had led with this in my notes.
As did I, and you just blew right past it.
You did. I'm not... that was entirely your fault.
Anyway, this is a guy who people said was never going to make it back to the
Yeah,
top.
they said he was done.
Let alone win another major. But back at number 1. And I think we're going to see Roger and Rafa battle for this ranking for the rest of the year and
Yeah.
possibly into next year. It's strange but exciting times. I think we are kind of tapped out.
Are you going to be making any predictions at all?
No.
None whatsoever.
I got in so much trouble last time.
Well,
I'm predicting that Serena will have the baby during the US Open.
that's all you're predicting?
That's it.
No, man. Predict something else.
What?
I'm putting you on the
No,
spot.
I can't do it off the top of my head.
Yeah, think of something. Come on.
Oh my God.
Okay,
Okay, I got one. I think that John Isner is going to be a semifinalist.
Oh my God, you're just stealing my shit from Cincinnati.
No,
I said that John Isner is probably going to win Cincinnati.
you put me on the spot and I came up with something, okay? Then you can't complain about what I came up with.
What do I think? I think that we're going to have... I'm so not wanting to say this, but I have a good feeling about Venus. I do.
All right. I mean, I don't disagree. You usually don't like to put that out there.
I don't, but I'm going to say that this time.
All right.
On that note, thank
We'll,
you to folks who gave us reviews since the last episode. There
Yes,
were a
thank
couple
you
of
so much.
Much appreciated. My name is Jonathan. I am tennis_John on Twitter.
And I'm James. I'm at ElliotJMR.
2 L's, 2 T's.
And our BodyServe Twitter account has been a lot more active recently. I've been doing a lot more tweeting from that account. And Jonathan has been posting hella photos on @TheBodyServe on Instagram.
Some photos. I wouldn't say hella.
Okay.
Quality over quantity.
Oh, thanks for listening. We will come at you probably halfway through this tournament.
Yes, we may have a special guest. Not sure yet. Till next time.